Welcome to another episode of Safe Space, the podcast for next generation family business leaders. Today we're joined by Ana Maria Guerrero Carvajal out of Bogota, Colombia. Ana Maria, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Francesco, for your kind invitation.
So, Ana Maria, you are a sixth generation family business. So, can you share with the audience where the business started and where you are today?
Of course, Carvajal is a 120-year-old family business. It started in Cali, Colombia, in South America, as a printing company. And then throughout the years, the company got involved in other sectors, packaging, education, information technology, real estate. And now we are in our sixth generation, and we are more than 300 family members already.
Oh, that's a small village. So can you share with the audience, how your values from the first generation have transmitted down to six generations and how that's contributed to your innovation and your growth?
We are very much aware of the fact that the percentage of the family business that succeed to pursue from one generation to the next are it's a small number. And when we get asked about the success factor and how come we are now in the sixth generation, I find that the family values play a huge role. On the one side, constant innovation, and on the other side, very strong family values, values of integrity and values of social commitment with the community have played a very important role.
And were these values that came natural and then you were able to identify them?
Well, that's the brain print we all have as we get born in this family. That's something that my great grandfather and my uncles and my parents, of course, and my cousins. That's something that we uh, pay very special attention to, and that's something we talk about a lot, and that's something that makes us feel very proud, especially the commitment with the social prosperity of the regions where we operate. That's something we feel very, very proud of.
So this is an important piece, audience. I hope you heard this. Ana Maria talked about how the family has talked about the values and how those values have been transmitted down from generation to generation to generation because they've been talked about. And I think a lot of families and a lot of human beings don't take the time to identify the values and to talk about them so they get transitioned to the next generation. So, Ana Maria, can you give an example of how those values were talked about and whether we talked about at the dinner table, in meetings? Just help the audience understand.
Well, in the recent years, social responsibility, sustainability are concepts that have become familiar. But that's something that 60 years ago, nobody talked about. So we in the family are very conscious of the fact that our ancestors were uh, pioneers. They saw this coming far before this was, something popular. So my grandfather has a quote we all love to share and that we use a lot, and he said that it was impossible for Carvajal to succeed within a social sick environment. And very early, since as early as Carvajal started to grow and to succeed and to make interesting profits and get involved in other business sectors, my grandfather said the better the results of Carvajal, the better have to be the social conditions of Cali and the region. So that commitment is something that we have always heard of, and that recently we feel very proud as we realized that this was not something common 60 years ago. So we, in the past years, we have realized that this was something revolutionary, and that we inherited not only a huge business, but we inherited this vision of the responsibility of a private company with the country. So we just grew up uh, listening to this, and we grew up as well visiting the neighborhoods, and every time we gather as a family, we always talk about, profits and investments and innovation, but we always have a place for the foundation to speak up as well. We always we gather twice a year, and there's always a very special place for the in the agenda for the foundation to talk about what the kind of work that is doing, accomplishments, challenges, threats, and that's something that the entire family gets deeply involved with.
And you said you started in the printing business, and now can you share with the audience, like how the complexity of the family business now, and speak to the value of innovation and how you've grown from just being printing to where you are today?
Well, yes, Carvajal today employs 17,000 people in 14 countries. And nowadays we are in 4 sectors. We continue in the printing, in the packaging, in the paper industry. We also are in education sector with school supplies and notebooks and supplies for education. We are in the business of information technology, and we also have a real estate business. So throughout the years, the company has had the necessity of reinventing itself. And just to give you an example, one of the most profitable businesses in Carvajal throughout the years was the phone directory, where all the cities in Colombia used to print the telephone companies used to print these huge books with everybody's telephone numbers, and that was the biggest and the most successful business for Carvajal in years. And suddenly, internet appeared on the scene, and the jewel of the crown just disappeared from one year to the next. So that's just one example of one of the things that forced the company to reinvent itself and say, okay, this is 40% of my profits, and now what am I going to do? So thanks to my relatives' vision and the CEOs of the company, they managed to overcome those threats and to reinvent the company and to start innovating with other sectors. For example, real estate is something new. 10 years ago, we didn't talk about real estate, but Carvajal had huge pieces of land in very interesting places, and the cities where we were started to grow, and so that became an opportunity. So I would say 10 years ago we started to talk about real estate. So that's just an example of how the business had to reinvent itself.
And you talk about having 300 members in the family. That's a lot of people that are involved. And you talked earlier about this innovation center that you have, sort of like entrepreneurship for the next generation. So the business is creating more businesses. Can you speak about that and the benefit that's had for the family and the growth of the business?
Absolutely. We in the family have a three leg table. One leg is the company, the other leg is the family council, and the other leg is the family foundation. And the family council plays a very special role in keeping all together, in keeping the harmony and effective communication among the three. And the family council, in the past, I would say 10 years, has paid huge attention to the promotion of entrepreneurship entrepreneurship among family members, because it is obvious that as you grow and when you're as big as 300 family, there's no place for everybody to work in the company. And so the family council created, it's called Carvalab. It's like a laboratory of entrepreneurship. And it encourages family members to start their own businesses. This was inspired by a French family business that has a huge fund, and we learned from them, and we started doing the same. That's something that is managed by the family council. And what the council does is that it not only encourages, but it sometimes it gives them seed capital, a small amount of seed capital, and also mentoring. So other older family members work as mentors and help those new entrepreneurs to help them succeed in their future businesses. And another thing that we do is that every time we gather as a family, at the end of the meeting, we save a special place for those entrepreneurs to exhibit their products. And we are constantly promoting, for example, now that we have a Mother's Day coming. So the family council communicates to the entire family and says, listen, this is Ana Maria's business. She has a flower business. Or an aunt of mine, she's a designer of purses. And I have another cousin, and she's a fashion designer and jewels. And so the family council communicates to the entire family, say, if you're looking for a present, or if you want to have if you have any special occasion, take in mind that there are these huge, not huge, they're all small for the moment, but very diverse offer of products and services. So that's a way of promoting entrepreneurship, and it's working very well.
What would you say have been the challenges of creating the entrepreneurship within the family, and then also the major benefits?
The challenges. One challenge is that eventually there will be businesses that will compete with Carvajal, and that's okay. I mean, you're free as a family member to start your small business, and eventually, if you grow up and you succeed, you can compete with the company. And that's something that needs to be taken care of. And in that case, effective communication is crucial. And the benefits is that in the end, we what we inherit is not the shares of a company, but what we most inherit is a way of doing things. And our business slogan is Carvajal hace las cosas bien. That means doing things right. So in the end, what we want to do is, no matter if you are in the flower industry or if you're a fashion designer or whatever you decide to do with your life, we have to do things right. And that means that we have to privilege integrity. That means that in order to succeed in financial terms, you don't have to sacrifice social commitment. That means that we are instruments for social prosperity as we grow our own businesses. So the best advantage of this is that we all consider, and we are very conscious of the fact that enterprises are like a motor, a motivator, an instrument for economic and social prosperity. And that's a huge advantage. The more entrepreneurs, the more small businesses that we encourage to grow, the best for our family members, for the family economic prosperity and the best for the country and the society.
One of the things that's really coming out loud and clear, Ana Maria, is your family. You don't just talk about values; you actually live them, right? And I think that's one of the things that's really missing in today's society. Everyone talks about, my values are this and my values are that, and everyone picks the ones that are popular: integrity and respect and good communication and vulnerability. Yet we fail to live them, right? And I really see that with a lot of businesses. They've got their values on the walls, but they fail to live them. And what's really inspiring about your story, your family and your business story, is you guys live them. And how did you get there? Because it's one of the things that a lot of the families that I work with struggle initially, is to identify their values, but not just identify them, but to define them, but most importantly to live them. How did you do that? Or is that just a family tradition that's been in place from the start?
It's not only a family tradition, but the need or the constant or mantra to walk the talk. So we do understand those values because we have seen them in action. One example, a few years ago, Carvajal had to get out of a very profitable business just because there was a suspicious or a possibility of corruption around. So just because there was a possibility of corruption, the company decided to step out of the business, even though it had a huge economic cost. And that's something the family sees. It's happening. Those are decisions the company makes. And another recent example was with right after the pandemic in 2021 in Colombia, we suffered these terrible social riots that were even more devastating than the pandemic in terms of unemployment, violence, murders. It was something really, really severe, and we saw how the CEO of the company, together with other business leaders, they went themselves to the community, and they went even with their own children, small children, to the neighborhoods that by that time were considered the most dangerous areas of Cali and Buenaventura. And they went there in person to see, to look and to listen to the community, to see what's going on, what's hurting you, what is happening, and what are the causes of this tremendous social riot. And so when you see that with your own eyes, you see the commitment. It's not in the wall in a paper, saying we are socially committed. No, you see the family members in the community, and that's something that the community values a lot. And we have very very inspiring testimonies of these people saying that when I saw the president of the company in my neighborhood, that means he is committed. He cares about me. So it's not social discourse. It's not in the walls. It's happening, and we all see it. So the way of transmitting values from one generation to the next is to actually not to pray but to act, not to praise but to act. And that's something we have seen always. So for me, that's the key.
I love the fact that you said the CEO didn't just go himself; he took his kids, or they took their kids. So what they're teaching the children is these values that we talk about, we actually live them, and here's how we do them. So they lead by example. And this is important, listeners. Pay attention to this, because a lot of us talk about our values, but we don't allow our children to see us living and being those values. And that's the important piece. That's where the rubber meets the road.
Absolutely.
Now, Ana Maria, we're coming to the top of the show. Fabulous conversation. Like, just really, here's an example of the importance that the humanness, the values play in ensuring that a family business is around for multiple generations. I think your family, your business is a phenomenal example of that. You clear in your values, you define them, and you live them, and that is the foundation for legacy and successful transitions. So, Ana Maria, is there any advice that you can offer the audience from your perspective, your wisdom, your experience around the importance of values in living?
Well, for me, that's the key for, in our case, to be able to succeed for 120 years. It's a combination of effective communication, of remaining always humble. We value humility. We don't think we are better and more successful than anyone else. The fact of walking the talk, the fact of maintaining the commitment with the prosperity of the region, or far beyond the prosperity of the business itself. I think that combination of all those factors have been crucial in for Carvajal to remain alive and successful for 120 years. Walk the talk.
That's it. Walk the talk. Ana Maria, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been an absolute honor.
No, thank you, Francesco, for your invitation.
As you know, our guests volunteer their time and they're generous with the wisdom and experience. So you be generous in sharing this with your peers because, we created the show so that you have a sense of community, hear best of class, what's working, what's not working. So hopefully you can have this sense of that you're not alone as you're going through this journey. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.